Golden hour light filters through oak trees that have watched over this small town for generations. The American flag hangs limp in the still air. A few dozen people gather around a makeshift stage constructed from hay bales and plywood. Clint Eastwood, 74, stands at the edge of the crowd, weathered hands clasped behind his back. His eyes, sharp as flint, scan the faces around him. These are good people, working people, the kind who still believe in heroes. On the stage, Officer Derek Hayes, 29, a crisp uniform pressed to perfection, accepts a bronze plaque from Mayor Patricia Wells, 60s, her smile wide for the cameras. Mayor Wells, ladies and gentlemen, Officer Hayes single-handedly apprehended 3 armed robbers who threatened our children at Roosevelt Elementary. His quick thinking and courage saved innocent lives. Applause ripples through the crowd. Hayes raises his hand in acknowledgement, his smile practiced but somehow hollow. The late afternoon sun catches something at his waist, his duty belt heavy with standard equipment. But Clint's eyes narrow on one particular item. A small leather pouch, worn smooth by age and weather, hanging among the regulation gear. The kind of pouch a soldier might carry. The kind that holds more than tobacco. The crowd's applause grows louder. Hayes' chest swells with pride. But Clint doesn't clap. He doesn't smile. He watches. Mayor Wells, Counted. Officer Hayes, would you like to say a few words? Hayes steps forward, adjusting his belt. The leather pouch shifts slightly, revealing faded stitching along its edges. Hayes, thank you, Mayor Wells. Thank you all. I was just doing my job, protecting the people of this community I love. More applause. Clint's jaw tightens. He's seen that exact pouch before. 47 years ago. In a place that smelled of cordite and fear. Hayes, counted. When I took this oath, I promised to serve and protect. That's not just words on a paper. That's a sacred trust. The crowd murmurs approval. Hayes' hand unconsciously touches the pouch. Hayes, counted. Sometimes doing the right thing isn't easy. Sometimes it costs you everything. But that's the price of honor. Clint's eyes never leave the pouch. He knows those words. He's heard them before, spoken by a different man in a different time. A man who paid that price. The ceremony ends. People drift away, chatting about dinner plans and weekend chores. Hayes shakes hands, accepts congratulations, basks in the warm glow of admiration. Clint remains motionless, a statue carved from granite and conviction. Inti, Murphy's Tavern, night, the local watering hole. Dim lighting, beer signs, and the comfortable worn-in feeling of a place where everyone knows everyone. Hayes sits at the bar, still in uniform, the bronze plaque propped against his beer bottle. Murphy, 60s, thick Irish accent, polishes glasses behind the bar. Murphy, hell of a thing today, Derek. Whole town's proud of you. Hayes, just doing my job, Murphy. Murphy, don't be modest. 3 armed men, and you took them down without firing a shot. That's something special. Hayes takes a long pull from his beer. His reflection in the mirror behind the bar shows a man trying to convince himself of something. The door opens. Clint enters, his presence immediately shifting the room's energy. Conversations quiet. He approaches the bar, leaving an empty stool between himself and Hayes. Clint whiskey. Neat. Murphy pours without question. Clint studies the amber liquid, then glances sideways at Hayes. Clint, counted. Fine ceremony today. Hayes, thank you. Clint takes courage to do what you did. Hayes, I had good training. Clint, training's one thing, heart's another. Hayes shifts uncomfortably. The leather pouch creaks against his belt. Clint, counted. That's a nice piece of gear you're carrying. Hayes' hand moves instinctively to the pouch. Hayes, standard issue. Clint, is it? Their eyes meet in the mirror. Hayes sees something in Clint's gaze that makes his blood run cold. Clint, counted. Mind if I ask where you got it? Hayes, I don't see how that's any of your business. Clint, maybe it's not. Then again, maybe it is. Clint finishes his whiskey and places a $10 bill on the bar. Clint, counted. You know, I had a friend once. Vietnam. Carried a pouch just like that one. Had his initials carved in the leather. 3 letters. JRM. Hayes' face goes pale. Clint, counted. Jimmy Ray Morrison. Ever hear that name? Hayes, no, I don't know anyone by that name. Clint, Jimmy was 19 when he died. Took a bullet meant for me. Bled out in my arms while I held pressure on a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. The bar has gone silent. Murphy pretends to clean glasses, but his ears are tuned to every word. Clint, counted. He had a daughter back home. Never got to meet her. Kept her picture in that pouch right next to his tobacco. Used to talk about her every night, how he was going to teach her to ride a bike, how he was going to walk her down the aisle someday. Hayes' hand trembles slightly as he reaches for his beer. Clint, counted. Funny thing about that pouch, it went missing from Jimmy's belongings when they shipped his body home. His daughter never got it. Never got to see that her daddy carried her picture through hell and back. Hayes, I bought this at a surplus store. You're mistaken. Clint, am I? Clint turns to face Hayes directly. The resemblance is unmistakable now. The same eyes, the same stubborn set to the jaw. Clint, counted. What's your middle name, son? Hayes. What? Clint. Your middle name. Hayes hesitates. Hayes. Ray. Clint. Derek Ray Hayes. Dr. H. Clint points to the pouch. Clint, counted. Those initials carved in the leather. They're not JRM, are they? Hayes stares down at the pouch, his hands shaking now. Clint, counted. You changed them. Carved over the original letters. But leather remembers, doesn't it? You can still see the ghost of what was there before. Hayes suddenly stands, knocking over his beer bottle. The bronze plaque clatters to the floor. Hayes, you don't know what you're talking about. Clint, then show me what's in the pouch. Hayes, I don't have to show you anything. Clint, no, you don't. But Jimmy's daughter might have something to say about it. Hayes, Jimmy's daughter? Clint Sarah Morrison, lives about 40 miles north of here, works at the county hospital. She's been looking for that pouch for 27 years. Hayes backs toward the door. Clint, counted. See, Jimmy didn't just carry her picture, he carried letters. Letters she wrote to him before she could even spell properly. Letters that meant everything to a scared kid 10,000 miles from home. Hayes, you're lying. Clint, am I? Clint reaches into his jacket and pulls out a yellowed envelope. The return address reads, Sarah Morrison, age 6, Millbrook Elementary School. Clint, counted. She wrote him every week. Told him about her loose tooth, her first day of school, the puppy she wanted to get when he came home. He kept every single one. Hayes stares at the envelope, his face crumbling. Clint, counted. The last letter she wrote him was about the Father's Day card she made. She was going to give it to him when he got back. But he never got back, did he? Hayes, stop. Clint, she still has that card. 35 years old, and she still has a Father's Day card she made for a daddy who never came home. Hayes sinks back onto the bar stool, his shoulders sagging. Hayes, how do you know all this? Clint, because I've been carrying the weight of Jimmy's death for 47 years, and I've been watching over his daughter ever since. Hayes, watching over her? Clint from a distance. Made sure she got into college. Made sure she had opportunities. Made sure she became the woman her father would have been proud of. Hayes looks up, tears in his eyes. Hayes, is she my sister? Clint, half-sister. Your father had a relationship with Jimmy's widow after the war. She was pregnant when she married him. That's you. The revelation hits Hayes like a physical blow. Clint, counted. Sarah doesn't know about you. Your mother never told her. But she knows about the pouch. She knows it's the only thing left of her father. Hayes, I found it in my stepfather's things after he died. There was a letter with it, from the army. It said the pouch belonged to a soldier who died in Vietnam. It had been misplaced in shipping. Clint, and you kept it. Hayes, I was curious. I opened it. I saw the pictures, the letters. I read them. All of them. Hayes' voice breaks. Hayes, counted. I read about a little girl who missed her daddy, who prayed for him every night, who made him pictures and wrote him letters and loved him with all her heart. Clint, and you felt what exactly? Hayes, I felt jealous. I felt angry. My own father left when I was 5. Never looked back, never wrote, never called. But this man, this Jimmy Morrison, he loved his daughter so much he carried her words into hell. Clint, so you stole her connection to him. Hayes, I didn't mean to. I was going to return it. I was going to find her and give it back. But then, Then I started wearing it, and people saw it, and they asked about it, and I told them it belonged to my father. Clint. But it didn't. Hayes. No, it didn't. Hayes unbuckles the pouch from his belt and places it on the bar. His hands shake as he opens it. Inside, a faded photograph of a young woman holding a baby, several handwritten letters in a child's scrawl, and a small amount of tobacco that still holds the faint scent of Virginia blend. Hayes, contadi. I wanted to be connected to something noble, something heroic. I wanted to be the son of a man who died for his country instead of the son of a man who abandoned his family. Clint. So you became a cop. Hayes, so I became a cop, and I wore his pouch, and I let people think I was carrying on his legacy. Clint. But you weren't. Hayes. No, I wasn't. Clint picks up one of the letters and reads it aloud. Clint. Dear Daddy, I lost my tooth today. Mommy said you might not get this letter before you come home, but I wanted to tell you anyway. I put the tooth under my pillow and the tooth fairy gave me a quarter. I'm saving it for when you come home. We can buy ice cream. Love, Sarah. Hayes wipes his eyes. Clint, contidi. She was 6 years old when she wrote that. She's 42 now. She's a nurse. She saves lives every day. She never married, never had children of her own. She says she's still waiting for her daddy to come home. Hayes, God. Clint. What happened at the school today, Derek? The truth. Hayes takes a shuddering breath. Hayes. There were 3 men. They had guns. They were demanding money from the office. I was first on scene. Clint. And? Hayes and I was terrified. I called for backup and waited outside. The men got spooked and ran. I never even saw them. They were caught 6 blocks away by Detective Martinez. Clint. So you didn't apprehend anyone? Hayes. No, I didn't do anything. I just let people assume I was involved in the arrest. And when they started calling me a hero, I didn't correct them. Clint. Just like you didn't correct them about the pouch. Hayes. Just like that. A long silence fills the bar. Outside, a dog barks in the distance. Clint. What do you think Jimmy would say about all this? Hayes. I think he'd hate me. Clint. Why? Hayes. Because I'm everything he wasn't. He was brave, he was honest, he was a real hero. And I'm just a fraud. Clint. Maybe. Or maybe you're just a man who made some bad choices and now has a chance to make some good ones. Hayes looks up hopefully. Clint. Con-TD. Sarah works the night shift at County General. She'll be there until 7 in the morning. Hayes. You want me to go see her? Clint. I want you to return what belongs to her, and I want you to tell her about her father. Hayes. What about him? Clint. That he was the bravest man I ever knew. That he talked about her every single day. That he carried her love with him through the darkest places on earth. That he died believing she would grow up knowing how much he loved her. Hayes. And what about me? What about the ceremony today? What about the plaque? Clint. What about them? Hayes. People will find out. They'll know I lied. Clint. Maybe. Or maybe they'll find out something else. Hayes. What? Clint. They'll find out about the police officer who drove 40 miles in the middle of the night to return a war hero's belongings to his daughter. They'll find out about the man who chose truth over comfort, honor over reputation. Hayes considers this. Clint. Con-TD. Real heroes don't need ceremonies, Derek. They don't need plaques or applause. They just need the courage to do what's right, even when it costs them everything. Hayes like Jimmy did. Clint like Jimmy did. Hayes carefully places the letters and photograph back in the pouch. He hands it to Clint. Hayes, will you give this to her? Clint. No. This is your journey, your choice, your chance to become the man you've been pretending to be. Hayes nods, understanding. He takes the pouch and secures it carefully in his jacket pocket. Hayes, Mr. Eastwood? Clint. Yeah? Hayes. What if she doesn't forgive me? Clint. Then you'll have to live with that. But at least you'll be living with the truth. Hayes stands and picks up the bronze plaque from the floor. He looks at it for a long moment, then sets it on the bar. Hayes. I don't deserve this. Clint. Not yet. But maybe someday you will. Hayes heads for the door, then stops. Hayes, why didn't you expose me tonight, in front of everyone? Clint, because shame is a private teacher, and some lessons are best learned in silence. Hayes, will you be here when I get back? Clint, I'll be around. Hayes nods and leaves. The door closes behind him with a soft thud. Murphy breaks the silence. Murphy, think he'll do it? Clint, I think he'll try. Sometimes that's enough. XT County General Hospital. Knight Hayes sits in his patrol car outside the hospital, the pouch on the seat beside him. Through the emergency room windows, he can see nurses and doctors moving with practiced efficiency. He picks up the pouch and opens it one more time. The photograph of Sarah as a baby stares back at him. She has her father's eyes. XT County General Hospital, emergency room, night. Sarah Morrison, 42, moves through the controlled chaos of the night shift with quiet competence. She saved 3 lives tonight, but to her it's just another evening at work. The automatic doors slide open. Hayes enters, still in uniform, clutching the pouch. Sarah, can I help you, officer? Hayes, are you Sarah Morrison? Sarah, yes. Is everything all right? Hayes, I have something that belongs to you. Sarah's expression shifts from professional courtesy to curious concern. Sarah, I'm sorry. Hayes holds out the pouch. Hayes, it belonged to your father, James Ray Morrison, Vietnam veteran. Sarah's face goes white. She stares at the pouch as if it's a ghost. Sarah, that's not possible. My father's belongings were lost. The army told my mother they were misplaced in shipping. Hayes, they weren't lost. They were delayed. Sarah reaches out with trembling fingers and takes the pouch. She holds it like it's made of spun glass. Sarah, where did you find this? Hayes, it's a long story. But first, there's something you need to know about your father. Sarah, I don't know anything about my father. He died when I was 6 months old. Hayes, he didn't just die, Sarah. He died saving someone's life. He was a hero. Sarah's eyes fill with tears. Sarah, how do you know? Hayes, because the man whose life he saved told me. He said your father was the bravest man he ever knew. He said your father talked about you every day. He said your father carried this pouch through hell and back because it held the most precious thing in his world. Sarah, what? Hayes, you. Sarah opens the pouch with shaking hands. The photograph flutters to the floor. Hayes picks it up and hands it to her. Hayes, Conted, that's you and your mother. Your father carried this picture through 13 months of combat. He kissed it goodnight every night before he went to sleep. Sarah studies the photograph, seeing her infant self through her father's eyes. Sarah, and the letters. Hayes, you wrote him letters. Every week. He kept every single one. Sarah pulls out the letters, her handwriting still recognizable despite the decades. Sarah, reading. Dear Daddy, I hope you come home soon. Mommy cries sometimes when she thinks I'm not looking. I drew you a picture of our house. The big tree in the yard is where I want to build a fort with you. She looks up at Hayes, tears streaming down her face. Sarah, Conti di. I don't remember writing these. Hayes, you were 6 years old. But your father remembered. He memorized every word. Sarah, how do you know all this? Hayes takes a deep breath. Hayes, because I've been carrying something that doesn't belong to me. Something I should have returned a long time ago. Sarah, I don't understand. Hayes, your father saved a man's life in Vietnam. That man has been watching over you ever since. Making sure you were safe. Making sure you had opportunities. Making sure you became the woman your father would have been proud of. Sarah, who is this man? Hayes, his name is Clint Eastwood. He lives in Millbrook. He's been carrying the weight of your father's death for 47 years. Sarah sits down heavily in a nearby chair. Sarah, why didn't he contact me directly? Hayes, because he thought you deserved to hear about your father from family. Sarah, family? Hayes hesitates, then makes his choice. Hayes, Sarah, I need to tell you something else. Something difficult. Sarah. What? Hayes. Your father isn't the only family you have. Sarah looks up sharply. Hayes, counted. After your father died, your mother had a relationship with another man, a man who had also served in Vietnam. They had a son together. Sarah. A son? Hayes. That son grew up without knowing about you, without knowing about your father, without knowing about the hero whose shadow he's been living in his entire life. Sarah's eyes widen as understanding dawns. Sarah, you. Hayes, me. They stare at each other across the emergency room. Two strangers bound by blood and loss and the weight of secrets. Sarah, you're my half-brother. Hayes. Yes. Sarah, and you've had this pouch. Hayes. For 7 years, since my stepfather died. Sarah. 7 years. Hayes. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry. Sarah. Why didn't you find me sooner? Hayes. Because I was selfish. Because I was angry. Because I wanted to be connected to something noble. And I stole that connection from you. Sarah stands and walks to the window, still clutching the pouch. Sarah. I used to dream about him. About my father. I would imagine what he looked like, what his voice sounded like. I would pretend he was coming home from a long trip, and he would tell me stories about all the places he'd been. Hayes. What did he look like in your dreams? Sarah. Like you. He looked like you. Hayes joins her at the window. Hayes. Sarah, I know you have no reason to forgive me. I know I kept something from you that you deserve to have. But I want you to know that learning about your father changed my life. Sarah. How? Hayes. It made me want to be better. It made me want to be worthy of carrying his name even if I had no right to it. Sarah. And are you? Better, I mean? Hayes. I'm trying to be, starting tonight. Sarah turns to face him. Sarah. What happens now? Hayes. Now you get to know your father. You get to read his letters. You get to understand the man who loved you so much he carried you through hell and back. Sarah. And what about you? Hayes. I go home. I face the consequences of my choices. I try to become the man I've been pretending to be. Sarah. Derek? Hayes. Yeah? Sarah. Would you like to read the letters with me? I'd like to know more about our father. Hayes feels something loosen in his chest, something that's been wound tight for 7 years. Hayes, I'd like that. They sit together in the hospital waiting room, surrounded by the quiet sounds of healing, and begin to read the words of a man who died believing love was stronger than death. The morning mist clings to the weathered headstones like memories that refuse to fade. Clint stands before a modest granite marker, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The inscription reads in simple, dignified letters, James Ray Morrison, beloved father, hero, 1947-1970. Fresh white lilies lie at the base of the stone, still damp with morning dew. A small American flag, crisp and new, flutters in the gentle breeze that carries the scent of jasmine from the nearby chapel gardens. Clint, morning, Jimmy. Your kids are getting acquainted. Finally. He removes his hat with the reverence of a man who has stood at too many graves, said goodbye to too many friends. The morning light catches the silver in his hair, making him look every one of his 74 years. Clint, Con TD. I think you'd be proud of them. Sarah's a healer, just like you always said she'd be. Saved 3 lives this week alone. And Derek? Well, Derek's learning what it means to carry your legacy the right way. A gentle breeze stirs the flowers, and for a moment, Clint could swear he hears Jimmy's voice carried on the wind. That same laugh that echoed through the rice paddies of Vietnam. The same voice that used to read Sarah's letters aloud to anyone who would listen. Clint, counted. You know, I was angry at you for a long time. Angry that you stepped in front of that bullet. Angry that you left me to carry on alone. But I understand now. You weren't just saving my life. You were saving theirs too. Everything I've done, everyone I've helped, it all goes back to that moment when you chose love over fear. He kneels down and adjusts the flag, making sure it catches the morning light just right. Clint, Contidi. I'm getting old, Jimmy. Won't be watching over them much longer. But I think they'll be all right. They've got your strength, your heart, and now they've got each other. Clint stands slowly, his joints protesting the years of hard living. He puts his hat back on and takes one last look at the headstone. CLINT EASTWOOD. Some debts take a lifetime to pay. Some promises take 47 years to keep. But they get kept, old friend. They get kept. Clint turns and walks away, his shadow stretching long across the dewy grass. Behind him, the flag continues to flutter, a silent sentinel keeping watch over a hero's rest. CLINT EASTWOOD to himself. The right thing's rarely the easy thing, but it lasts. Fade to black. Title card. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who teach us how to live with honor, even when they're gone. Fade out. Fade in, int. Millbrook Police Station. 1 month later, morning. The station buzzes with the quiet efficiency of small-town law enforcement. Coffee percolates in the corner, and the morning sun streams through Venetian blinds, casting long shadows across worn linoleum floors. Hayes sits at his desk, filling out reports with the methodical precision of a man who has found his purpose. His uniform is the same regulation blue, but something fundamental has changed. There's a quiet confidence about him now, a sense of peace that wasn't there before. The restless energy that once drove him to seek validation has been replaced by something deeper, genuine self-respect. On his desk sits a small framed photograph, James Ray Morrison in his army dress uniform standing next to a young woman who bears an unmistakable resemblance to Sarah. Jimmy's arm is around her waist, and they're both laughing at something outside the frame. It's a picture of pure joy, captured in a moment before war and loss changed everything. Next to the photograph lies a worn leather journal, Sarah's gift to him. Inside are copies of all their father's letters home, the ones he carried through the jungles of Vietnam. Hayes has been reading one each morning, learning about the man whose shadow he spent years trying to fill. Chief Martinez, a weathered man in his 60s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, approaches Hayes' desk. He's been watching his young officer with interest over the past month, noting the subtle but significant changes. Chief Martinez Hayes, I just got off the phone with the hospital. That domestic violence call you responded to last week? Hayes looks up from his paperwork, pen still in hand. There's a calmness in his eyes that wasn't there a month ago. Hayes, what about it? Chief Martinez, the woman you convinced to leave her abuser, Maria Gonzalez, she's filed for divorce. She's safe now. Her kids are safe. She wanted me to thank you personally. Hayes nods but doesn't stop his paperwork. The old Derek would have preened at the praise, would have found a way to turn it into a story about his own heroism. This Derek simply accepts it as part of the job. Chief Martinez, EASTWOOD. She said you didn't just arrest the guy. You sat with her for 2 hours, helped her understand her options, drove her to the women's shelter yourself. That's good police work, Hayes. Real police work. Hayes, just doing my job, Chief. Chief Martinez. No, you're doing more than that. You're doing what's right. There's a difference. Chief Martinez studies Hayes for a moment, noting the photograph on his desk, the journal, the subtle changes in posture and demeanor. Chief Martinez, EASTWOOD. You know, I've been doing this job for 30 years. I've seen a lot of officers come and go. Some are in it for the excitement, some for the authority, some because they genuinely want to help. But the best ones, the ones who really make a difference, they're the ones who understand that real police work isn't about the badge or the gun. It's about seeing people at their worst moments and choosing to be their best hope. Hayes finally looks up, meeting his chief's gaze. Hayes, my father understood that. Chief Martinez. Your father was a cop? Hayes. No, sir. He was a soldier, but he understood about protecting people, about sacrifice. Chief Martinez glances at the photograph on Hayes' desk. Chief Martinez, Vietnam? Hayes. Yes, sir. He died saving someone else's life. Chief Martinez. Good man. Hayes the best. Chief Martinez nods and walks away, leaving Hayes to his reports. But Hayes doesn't immediately return to his paperwork. Instead, he touches the photograph gently, his finger tracing the outline of his father's face. Hayes, quietly. Thanks, Jimmy. EXT. County General Hospital. Evening. The sun hangs low in the western sky, painting the hospital parking lot in shades of gold and amber. The day shift is ending, and tired medical professionals make their way to their cars, carrying the weight of the lives they've touched, the battles they've fought against death and suffering. Sarah exits the hospital through the automatic doors, her scrubs wrinkled from a 12-hour shift, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looks exhausted but satisfied. The look of someone who has spent the day making a difference. Waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his patrol car with his arms crossed, is Hayes. He's changed out of his uniform and into jeans and a simple button-down shirt. In his hands, he holds 2 cups of coffee from the diner down the street. Sarah. How did it go today? She accepts the coffee gratefully, inhaling the rich aroma before taking a sip. Hayes. Good. I helped someone who needed help. Woman trapped in an abusive relationship. She's safe now. You? Sarah. Same. We saved a life today. A little girl. Car accident. She reminded me of someone. Hayes. Who? Sarah. Me. At 6 years old, writing letters to a father I'd never met. They stand together in the fading light, 2 people who found each other through loss and chose to build something from the ruins. The parking lot around them is slowly emptying, but neither seems in a hurry to leave. Sarah, Contid. I've been thinking about what you said, about facing consequences. Hayes. And? Sarah takes another sip of coffee, gathering her thoughts. In the months since they met, they've been slowly building a relationship, learning to be siblings, learning to trust each other. Sarah. I think our father would be proud of you, not for what you did, but for what you chose to do after. Hayes. How do you know? Sarah. Because I read his letters, all of them, and in every single one he wrote about second chances, about redemption, about the belief that people can change. She reaches into her purse and pulls out one of the letters, worn soft from repeated reading. Sarah, Contidi. Listen to this. He wrote this 3 weeks before he died. I've seen men do terrible things in this war, but I've also seen them find their way back to goodness. I believe that's what makes us human. Not our mistakes, but our ability to learn from them, to become better than we were. Hayes looks up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Venus hangs low on the horizon, bright and steady. Hayes. You think he's watching? Sarah. I think he's been watching all along. Through Mr. Eastwood, through the choices we make, through the love we carry forward. They stand in comfortable silence for a moment. Brother and sister, united by their shared loss and their newfound connection. Hayes. Sarah? Sarah. Yeah? Hayes. I'm glad I found you. I'm glad I was brave enough to return what belonged to you. Sarah. I'm glad you found me too. And Derek? Hayes. Yeah? Sarah. You didn't just return his belongings. You returned his memory, his story, his love. That's something I can never repay. They embrace, 2 halves of a broken family finally made whole. In the distance, a church bell chimes the hour, marking another day's end, another day's small victories. Sarah, Contid, come on, let's go visit him. Hayes. Who? Sarah. Our father. I want to tell him about his children, about how we found each other, about how his love brought us together across all these years. Hayes, what will you tell him? Sarah. That his son learned what it means to be a hero, that his daughter finally understands why he had to go, that his sacrifice meant something, that it's still meaning something every day. They walk together toward Hayes's patrol car, carrying the weight of their father's love and the promise of their own redemption. As they drive through the quiet streets of Millbrook, the town where it all began, the town where their father's legacy lives on in the lives they touch, the people they save, the love they carry forward. Hayes. Sarah. Sarah. Yeah. Hayes. Do you think we'll see him again? Someday. Sarah. I think we see him every day. Every time we choose to help instead of harm. Every time we choose truth over comfort. Every time we choose love over fear. Hayes. Like he did. Sarah, like he did. The patrol car disappears into the gathering darkness, carrying them toward the cemetery, toward their father's grave, toward the continuation of a story that began in the jungles of Vietnam and continues in the quiet heroism of everyday life. Fade to black. Title card. The greatest inheritance is not what we receive, but what we choose to pass on.